Now let us take one last sutram in this series. This series means which prescribes this affix da following the verbal root jan, jani pradurbhave. The last sutram in this series is 32101, which is anyeshvapi drishyate. Anyeshvapi drishyate. And the vritti of this sutram says that anyeshvapyupapadeshu janer dasyat, which means that this affix da may be used after the verbal root jan when the upapadam is other than the ones which have been listed in the prior rules. The prior rules meaning 32, 97, 98, 99, 100. Even when the upapadam is something other than what has been authorized by 32, 97, 98, 99, 100, the pratyaya da may be seen to be used after the verbal root jan. Let's take the example Brahmanajo Dharmaha. Dharmaha which is born from the Brahmanas. Now here Brahmana is a Jati Vachaka Shabdaha, Jati Shabdaha. So 3298 would not allow this compound because it says Panchamyam Jatau, Ajatau. But even when a Jati Shabda is used, sometimes we may see the Pratyaya da being used following the verbal root jan when the Upapadam is a Panchamyantam but it is Jati Vachakam. So even though prohibited by 3298, we may see sometimes in the language these kind of forms where the upapadam is other than the one which was permitted by 3298, but still we see the affix da being used. So that is the gist of this sutram. It's a very important sutram because many times we see the affix da being used and there isn't a sutram exactly to justify that usage. At that time we have to come to this sutram and substantiate that form. Now let's take another example. Let's take the example Anujataha iti Anujaha, one who's born after, one who has been born after, a younger brother. Anujataha iti Anujaha, like Rama Anujaha means a younger brother of Balarama, which is Sri Krishna, Rama Anujaha. So here we have a sutram 32100 which says Anau Karmani, and that sutram actually says that the affix da may be used when you have the upasargaha anu with the dhatuhu jan, and following jan the affix da may be used, but only karmanyapapade, when there is a karma upapadam which is the object of the action. Right now we don't have that. All we have is anujataha. We don't have a karma as the upapadam. But in spite of that, we see the affix da being used following the verbal root jan when jan is with the upasargaha anu, but there is no upapadam at all. So 32100 would not justify this form, but still it is seen to be used. So these are the kinds of forms where 32, 97, 98, 99 or 100 will not work exactly, but we have to extend. We have to allow these forms because Panini says Anyeshvapi drishyate. So please make a note of this sutram. Now one more thing is that this sutram is used to justify the affix not only after the verbal root jan, but after other verbal roots also. And the Siddhanta Kaumudi says that api shabdaha sarvopadhi vyabhicharartha. Sarvopadhi vyabhicharartha means all conditions may be relaxed. That is what is indicated by Panini by using the term api in the sutram. By saying api, Panini says that this affix da may be justified in a variety of situations and all conditions which have been mentioned may be relaxed. So we may see this affix da being used after another verbal root other than jani pradurbhave also. For example, paritaha khata parikha. Parikha is like a moat or a trench. You can say like a ditch, something which is dug around a fort or a palace or a city to basically make the entrance difficult. It's a trench which is dug all around something important like a fort. So that is parikha. So paritah khata iti parikha. Now here the dhatu is not at all jan. This dhatu is khan dhatu. Khan means to dig. This dhatu has been used over here. So none of the sutrams would justify the use of this affix da, but by including this api in the sutram. That is the indication that Panini gives is sometimes we may see this affix da being used following a completely different verbal root. Like in this case, we have the verbal root khan, which is khanu avadarane. Following that, this affix da has been used. So please remember this sutram anyeshvapi drishyate. It is a very important sutram. Whenever you see the affix da being used and you do not have a sutram to justify that, then think of this sutram anyeshvapi drishyate.